Oh, the post-mortem on Bitcoin. Yes. Okay, so what happened? Well, let's tell you about it. I was up in the air and unfortunately didn't trade it particularly well, although similar events I was far more fortunate, and I will show you about when the market has done something similar before. But here's the narrative on what's happened on Bitcoin in terms of a technical assessment. We had an upside HVF. It was highly ascending. That means a lot of buying is coming in through the pattern. This is a steep low, a steep buy line as we call it. We also had a slight imperfection. That little high 2 popped out above that high 1. That is showing impatience, a little fractal there that gave a little pop. That means there wasn't enough squeeze from the top and too much buying coming in along the bottom. What does that mean? That means you end up having a risk of fizzling out. A lot of that buying gets satiated throughout the pattern. You get the break there, moderate volume but not spectacular. That means it made the interim 2, but it couldn't make its target. What actually happened? It balked at the key level of significance at $20,000 and then started to ease back down, made a micro little head and shoulders where that could be a shoulder, there's a head and there's another head. Then it started to dip down, had a return move. We got our famous omen for downside, the first inverted HVF in a new trend which had an ascending bottom, as they often do. That means not only do you make target, but you make overperformance to the downside. That target was made, then bounced on our failed funnel, our failed patterns, green funnel level, and returned to the target, a little bit entrapped there. The minute it ran the red line, we knew that that was now invalidation of that whole pattern. In other words, it was a fail pattern. Often near the end of major upside moves, you get a pattern that eventually fails. It usually has ascending structure. Too much of the people already got the script and are buying in between the pattern, and there's not enough follow-through buying at the end. Plus the key level of significance, we'll come back to that in a minute. The overperformance at an interim, it bear flagged up there, smacked down. Then the rally, everyone would have thought it was hunky-dory and good again. We are now in inverted HVF with overperformance thinking mode, expecting further downside. What do we get? We get a strong sell-off. We don't want it to make a lower low, because that means the beginning of bottom. In fact, making a higher low with a nice flat bottom points to the likelihood of continuation downside on this new selling trend that has been established. That's exactly what happens. We get a lower high and a marginally higher low. So this is nice flat bottomed inverted HVF structure. It's a wind up HVF, all forming with a little funnel sitting on the previous funnel's green for go level. We spit down, we get a continuation pattern at the interim level. That is a bear flag like that. You would draw typically those of traditional technical analysis bend, something like that, and down she goes. Then we make the HVF target. We then rally hard back up to the target. Then we smash down one more time and we make this level. What is this? This is a left shoulder, head, and right shoulder, where the HVFs are the left shoulder on the upside, and the smaller shoulder is the left shoulder, and the smaller shoulder here is the right shoulder, and our neckline is in our funnel on the magical axis line. Project that down from your head down here, and you get the target that was attained on that spike down. That saw you then rally all the way back up to the target that you resisted at 3 times before on those 3 candles, and you resist again and you spill for a marginally lower low, and then a weak rally, pointing to probably the end of the downside in the short term, and the likelihood that one of 2 things will happen. You will congest for a while and then sell off some more and form continuation, or you will begin a recovery. Typically in Bitcoin, post these events, you go to a full-blown recovery. You'll stall out somewhere in the key levels of significance, maybe putting an arm just above, and you'll wind up and create continuation. Where have we seen this before? We saw it before over here when we did nail it and we weren't in flight. There was an upside HVF with a funnel. It then balked. What was the key round number? 5,000. Remember those levels? It couldn't do it. It sold off. It then rallied, formed an inverted HVF here after a failed upside ascending HVF here, and then it spilt down to make that target and make the head and shoulders a target. Where was the neckline? There. Look at that flat bottom, marginally higher low, but pointing to a downside break, continuation of the new trend that was a downside trend, like that. There you go. And then it made its target all the way down to, and I was lucky to get an entry at 2,990, which was just through the key 3,000 level, and we can put a shape around that one as well, because it was a perfect trade in that sense at that moment. What we should have done is I should have done much the same thing on more recent events that were here, but due to distractions with business and flight, I ended up writing a fair amount of this down with a variety of cryptos. So you don't always get it right, and you've got to be focusing. But for those that are panic selling and wanting to get into Tether now at these points, let me just say to you where you are on the history map. You are here on this history map. Welcome to hodling. If you're smart, you'll sit it out. The expansiveness of the crypto market will bring you back into the game, and you'll be probably getting a similar pattern to this at some point at $40,000, $50,000. Who knows? This was at $5,000. This one we've just had was bulking at the $20,000 mark. So if it goes up another 4 times after that, as it did here, this will happen again round about the 80,000. Of course, it doesn't work like that. You know that. I know that. But patterns repeat. Upside HVFs as left shoulders, downside HVFs as right shoulders, with failure at major key levels of significance, with a big move to the downside is very beneficial if you manage to get into Tether, as I did at that point, and then buy a whole bunch more Bitcoin at that low point. But you don't always get to execute it, as in this instance, and that's okay, because in general this is an expansive market and nobody should be panicking right now. It's likely, on balance of probabilities, despite all the news that Bitcoin is now dead and the flippening and everything else has occurred, that it will continue to recover in a very positive way, but you might have to be patient, and it's hodl time for you on the way up. That's my take. I'm Francis Hunt. I've got an amazing webinar with the 7 key mistakes that traders make, plus the 3 key things that you can do to take your trading to the next level. It's fast paced, it's interesting. I'm doing it tomorrow night, and there will be an offer. So this webinar is free, but it's for serious people that are prepared to invest and want a multiple on their crypto by this time next year. A big multiple on their crypto holdings. If you are in that category, I invite you to attend. Go to the website, themarketsniper.com, and fill in the alignment questionnaire. It's very short and punchy and tick boxy, and you will then get an invite to the webinar tomorrow, and that is GMT time. I believe it's either 8 or 7 o'clock. I should know that. I apologize. Have a look at the website. It'll be up there when you complete the form. Upon that invite, come on over and watch. And as I say, our goal is determined solely by getting you a multiple on your return of investment. You will learn how we utilize the single best the method, with the methodology that gives you the mindset and the comfort to stick to your trading processes, instead of fear of losing or FOMO buying, fear of missing out. Have a method. Suddenly multiply your value add to the quality of decisions you're making in the crypto trading environment, and also enjoy the ideal market for this particular strategy, the HVF method. With that, I want to wish you, thank you, massive thanks, massive Christmas wishes to you all, whether you're coming to the webinar or not. Thanks for the support on the channel. Really appreciate you. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the shares. Crypto is the game. Francis Hunt is the name. Come and get your multiple with us. Otherwise, have an amazing time with your family, and all the best for 2018. Bless you all.